Hello, I know that at least Wanda is out there, and we got a little testy this week. Not testy, but we had a couple of logistical trying to get you guys on a Zoom link. But the important thing was to get the ingredients to those of you who requested it. When we did that, we wanted to get you the ingredients, and then we were going to do a Zoom so that you could all see how we take the ingredients and put them together. And that may sound a little elementary, but how you slice, dice, and chop your individual ingredients makes all the difference in the world when the salad is not just working for you synergetically, but the way that it's going to taste. You ever been to somebody's house and they give you tomatoes and onions in the salad, and the onions are like the size of a garlic loaf? So no, you want to make sure that there's some things that are chopped, minced, sliced. So we want to learn how to do all of that today. And I'm surprised, I'm not really surprised, but there are some people that don't even know how to get into an avocado. A lot of people will buy the whole pineapple because they don't know how to slice a pineapple. So we did the pineapple video recently. You really should check that out, because pineapple juice during this season that we're in, this paradigm switch, is excellent in terms of antibacterial qualities, for viruses, the cold, the flu, and things like that, not to mention its anti-inflammatory characteristics. So we're gonna start doing a lot more, but this is like our little trial run just to kind of get us started. And with the Zoom link, I have the basic, so that's like 40 minutes, and it shouldn't take that long, but just in case, I didn't want you to have to click on and start a new Zoom. So we just figured that for those of you who have the ingredients, you can just kind of follow through with us. And those of you who don't have the ingredients, you probably already have the Dr. Dallas Health Restoration booklet, and maybe you haven't checked it out yet, but that recipe is included along with a fabulous bean stew. So let's get started. And again, the key is just how we're going to put this together. So the reason that we did this is because a lot of you are like, wow, wow, when you see the pictures. It's not just about an attractive looking dish. I eat salad, I love the vibrancy of the colors, but more importantly, every single ingredient has a medicinal property associated with it that is so effective in dealing with a lot of the things that we're dealing with today. You guys know that my platform for the 20 years I've been in business has always been your best offense against fighting the big three: obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And why is that? Because that is prevalent, especially in the African American community. And once you get those particular diseases, you're on a fast track to cancer. So sure, we could talk about cancer prevention, but this is where it starts, when you start getting these initial acute conditions, and then you move into the chronic diseases, and then you have cancer. So we want to talk about how this works for the body. So we're going to start off I think what we should do is kind of chop the things up just so that you can see that. We can put them over to the side. We're going to start with our base. And so a lot of people talk about even something as simple as what type of greens are we going to use. So arugula is notably scientifically proven to help with blood cholesterol levels. It helps reduce the chance of a heart attack more so than spinach. So when we start talking about the amount of calcium, the amount of vitamin C that's in spinach, that's great. What you want to do is a combination. I do kale, spinach, and chard, but I always add baby arugula. It's got like a peppery taste to it. Honestly, many years ago, my sister was big on this and I wasn't. But again, as we get older and we mature, I got beyond the peppery taste and started loving it simply because of what it does to the body. And you can tell the difference when you start using this in your salads. I just started feeling calmer, something or another, so I go with that. So what you do is you start with your base. Now, just a heads up here, I'm going to be talking a lot about different things so that you can just find out some things as we move along here. So I have packaged lettuce. So I'm single, I live alone, I eat a lot of salads, but I don't eat them as much as I used to in terms of the quantity. I can eat a bowl like this in the summertime when I'm out playing tennis for 3 hours and not blink. In the wintertime, when I do my raw meal cereal in the morning with almost 3 cups of a variety of berries and steel cut oat flour, sesame seed flour, flax seeds grinded up to a flour, an assortment of nuts and just a lot of stuff. And I sprinkle the pineapple ginger honey juice over that along with pomegranate juice. That tends to carry me, and that's usually in a pretty decent size, I mean a really hefty bowl. And that gets me through everything that I've expended on my morning workout, because I typically get up, I usually try to walk at least 25 miles every week. So normally I'm striving for 5 miles on my treadmill as soon as I roll out of bed, and then I do a 30-minute yoga session, and then I go do my 1 mile run that I am still doing. I think I'm at day 700. I mean, 2 years continuously doing 1 mile a day will be the last weekend of May. Can you believe that we're closely approaching May already? We've been dealing with this pandemic almost a solid year here. And I know that because my birthday is in 2 weeks, and my sister Wanda and her husband Larry had taken me out to dinner on my birthday, and the next day was when they shut everything down. No more eating in restaurants, etc., etc. So we always start with our base of greens. Again, arugula, spinach, chard, and kale. That way you're getting a combination of all of the antioxidants, phytochemicals, everything that you need to fight cancer, to give the bone health, good strength, calcium, ton of minerals. So we start with that, and then we put it over to the side. There's a little art to having the salad be in a way where it's consumable easily. So what you do is you start with a base salad, and then you start with your heaviest ingredients. Now, what I'm going to do is chop up everything and put them in these bowls, and I'm going to throw it together, because when I start chopping this red onion, it's not going to be pretty. So I'm going to actually leave that for, well, we'll try. So one of the tricks to keeping the water from flowing so bad from your eyes is to run it under the cold water while you're actually chopping. And so this is a red onion for people that buy. And so why are we taking the time to do this? Because a lot of people are intimidated by buying whole produce, and this is what we call whole produce. So is this any better than buying chopped onions? Absolutely, because you start to lose a lot once you start how it was sitting around, refrigerated or unrefrigerated prior to it being packaged, etc., etc. So there's a lot that goes on there, and then you start talking about cleanliness, okay? Another video, we're going to talk about the fact that your knives and the knife holder has more bacteria in it than most toilet seats, because people don't clean these things. You know, people have spatulas that have the handles on them, they never take them apart and clean them. I personally hang everything where it's still damp so it air dries. But when you're taking damp utensils and putting them into cabinet drawers, a mold starts to grow. The mold that's on refrigerator handles and your sponges, you know, they're talking about clean your sponges in vinegar and Clorox. Just dispose of it after a week. I mean, really, they're what, $10 for 100 sponges? Or you can use I use the bamboo cloths. These are very effective in terms of keeping some of that bacteria stuff down. So you want to start thinking about the, you know, as we're walking around cleaning our hands 15 times a day and wearing a mask. I mean, these are the things that are really killing us. So just want to be careful about that. We'll talk about, you know, when you can and when you shouldn't eat something in the refrigerator that has mold on it, and almost never, unless it's like a hard cheese or something. But just little things like that. People think they can just dip out the mold or cut out the mold on something, but you know, they have like these little fingers that you can't see that go down into the rest of the food. So when you see mold, toss it. So try to eat your stuff and make smaller quantities. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So you take a onion and you simply first remove the edges, the top and the bottom. So you see that you have a flat piece on the top, a flat piece on the bottom. And then typically what I'll do is slice it down the middle, and then I will run it. Just kind of rinse it in some cold water so your eyes aren't completely driving you crazy. You're gonna get a little bit of it. There's some other tricks I know, but we're not gonna go through that. So this is what you end up having, is a half of a red onion. Why are we using onions? Because they are literally the sister to garlic. So when you think about sisters and brothers, you think about oranges and tangerines or oranges and lemons. You think about apples and pears. So garlic and onion. So what's so great about garlic and onion? Why do we want to always have this in our salad? Personally, I love to use the red onions because they give the salad a sweeter flavor when you mix it with something as peppery as arugula. White Spanish onion, very sweet. So when you're doing something where you're doing like a hummus or something like that, you want to be creative, you can go there. But in my salads, I'm kind of a stickler for the red onion. The other thing that we need to know about vegetables is that they all come in a variety of colors. The darker the color, the more phytonutrients that are in it. Phytochemical, polyethylene. Same thing, we're going to be using red cabbage. Does that mean that we can't do green cabbage? Absolutely not. What you should actually do is a combination because you get slightly different nutrient value from the two. But always remember, the more colorful, you're getting some of those extra nutrients in the body. So then, this is my cabbage knife. So that's the other good thing about making your salads and being comfortable in the kitchen is having the right tools. Now, this is all we need to make a great salad. You know, people talk about being healthy is time consuming, etc., etc. I mean, seriously, and most times you're never scrubbing anything. You want to kind of do that just because of what we talked about a second ago. But just some cool water and you're done because you're dealing with high water soluble fruits and vegetables. So I use this potato peeler. My sister Wanda, again, told me about this. We took me to Eastern Market and introduced me to this maybe 15 years ago. Has been a lifesaver. It's just the easiest thing in the world to use. And we're going to use that today because I didn't feel like pulling out the food processors and chopping. This is a larger knife. You want to have a larger, good knife so that you can deal with things like that super huge sweet yellow onion, your cabbages in the summertime. You are not going to try or want to get into a watermelon with this. Now this is my go-to knife. Ergonomically, it really helps you feel comfortable if you're in the kitchen for a long time. Yeah, some people use the food choppers and the little cut choppers. Personally, I am not there yet because they tend to do a little too much chopping. You know, you want to slice, dice, again, certain things a certain way. The chopper is giving you kind of one look, and that's the mushy look. And the other thing is that as we're moving this year in my practice, using a lot of essential oil blends, so we talk about aromatherapy, we talk about color therapy. So as you're in the kitchen, don't look at this time as food preparation time, but look at it as a healing time because foods just have the medicinal part. So we're dealing with onions. These are herbs. Herbs are basically vegetables. And so as I'm cutting this, I'm cutting through the plant basically. And so as you do that, as each time I slice this, in addition to making my eyes watery, it's immediately going into my olfactory system. So the inhalation of the aroma, the senses from all of this, it's doing that. So the same benefits that I get from having this in my salad and chewing it are the same benefits, if not actually there are more benefits when I'm actually doing the preparation work because again, when you're dealing with the olfactory system, which is dealing with this whole sinal cavity here, immediately the power, that's why essential oil blends are so powerful because immediately once you inhale them, they make a big difference. So when you're doing this, when you have your hands manipulating these foods, it's going right into what? Your largest elimination channel is the skin. It's a two-way membrane. So you're getting all of this in here. I'm probably talking too much, but this is what you wanted. This is why I spend this kind of time doing this. And it really isn't a lot of time. If I would shut up, we could just, it takes me 15 minutes to do my little salads. And usually I do a big giant bowl like this, put it into 3 smaller containers, and I'm good for 2 days. So here's what you want to do. So now that you have your onion ends chopped, lay down on the flat end, and just simply begin to hold both ends and make very close slices in one direction. And you're basically going to be going along the grain size. Now because I'm not making as much salad today, I'll have to tell you guys my little story later. I need to just probably chill out for a couple of days. I'm going to talk about the anatomy of the death of the virus that tried to take me out yesterday. And I had to, and this is actually the sister of the red onion is what has me to a point where I can actually stand here and talk with you guys and not fall on my face. You probably notice I look a little pale because I had some issues last night. And I think it's because it was 50 degrees here yesterday, but it wasn't as warm as, you know, it had a little wind. So I carry my tennis rackets with me at all times. And I went to play tennis just like an hour, and I got a little damp because I was really hitting the ball. And I have a bad habit of doing that in the summertime where I am walking around with damp clothes on for hours after I get off the court. And yesterday I had to go and get this stuff so that it'd be nice and fresh for you guys. And then I had to do some other things, and then I came home and tried to close out some emails before the end of the business day. So I played tennis at 12, and it wasn't until 6:30 that I got in the tub, and then I fell asleep with all my essential oils, and there was a little bit of draft in there, and an hour later I had the woof cough down in my stomach, and my body was achy, and I was just too tired to get up and do anything. But about 2 o'clock, I got up, and that's why this garlic is cut open. So I cut the garlic open, I minced 2 cloves, put it in a glass with some warm distilled water, added some fresh lemon juice to it, a tad bit of raw honey, and some vitamin C acid-free powder. And I did that twice, then I drank some green tea, and then I did a whole bunch of oil inhaling and rubbing my chest with oil. I had a client this morning, so that all made, so I'm feeling probably like 70% now. So that's pretty cool, because it was ugly, and because, you know, I was thinking this is not COVID-19, but I was feeling pretty bad. So that's the onions. You put those in because it's heavy. Then we put our sunflower seeds in. So there's nothing to do with this. You guys just have some sunflower seeds. That's going to be how many you want to use. I could not find any pumpkin seeds yesterday. So you typically would put your red onions on, then you sprinkle it with the sunflower seeds and the pumpkin seeds. Then you start putting your next heavier ingredients in. And so we're going to start with the cabbage. So you have a whole cabbage. Take the cabbage and you use your big knife and you slice off a decent section of it. Then you continue to use your big knife as you lay this on the flat piece. And we're just going to go very close, again, following the horizontal, slicing very close together, and depending on how much you want. Now, why are we using red cabbage? Now, the Scandinavians, the Nordic diet, are famous for people living a very, very long time. One of the main staples of their diet is red cabbage, either raw or very lightly steamed. For those of you who cook cabbage, never ever add salt to cooked cabbage. It's almost poisonous to the body. So cabbage is, remember we used to do the cabbage diet, I'm telling my age here, way back in the day, the cabbage diet for a few days, and people would do like a cabbage soup. Why did that work so well? Because some of the ingredients or the qualities to the cabbage is that microorganisms in the body feed off of the bacteria in the cabbage, which makes your stool bulky when you have an elimination. That's one of the big things about cabbage. But outside of that, again, cancer fighting qualities. Red cabbage gives you a few more minerals than just a plain green cabbage. Has a nice little flavor to it when you douse it with the olive oil and apple cider vinegar. So we just, again, you can decide how much of that you want to toss on. Remember, we're not stirring anything. We just douse those heavy ingredients, the red onions with the pumpkin and sunflower seeds. Now pay attention here. So that, we took our hand and shoo, shoo, shoo. Now we're just laying the cabbage on, moving more into like a lasagna kind of thing here. So you lay the cabbage on. You may as well just put some more on there. Cabbage is so good. So if you're ever sick, you want to do like a just raw cabbage, lightly steam it, and add a variety of healing herbs to it, like turmeric, Italian seasonings, basil, oregano is super good for sickness. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there. So we have our little leftover stuff here. Then you want to move to celery. Why do we do celery? Because if there's pain in the body, there's usually a sodium deficiency if that pain is relegated to the left side of the body. So how does this come to be? So in your body, you have 1,000,000 cells. On the inside of the cell, you have something called intracellular fluid. On the outside of the cell, you have something called extracellular fluid. The intracellular fluid basically is predominantly potassium. The best source of potassium for that would come from carrots. The extracellular fluid basically is controlled by the mineral sodium. And the best source of organic sodium, organic meaning having all hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen levels, would be sodium. So you always, because we live and die at the cellular level, there's never a time where I'm eating a salad that I don't have celery and carrots in it. I also add beets because they're red in color. And so what is red in color? So foods have characteristics. We've gone over this before. Green foods do what? They clean the blood. Red foods do what? They move the blood. Yellow foods are natural laxatives. Now we have something yellow because you always want to have all of your colors in your salad. Yellow foods are natural laxatives for the most part. And then we have a yellow food here in our Turkish figs, and the date is considered a yellow food. Now why the Turkish fig? So important because when we cut this open, you'll see 1,000,000 yellow seeds. That's what makes it a high potassium food. But the other stuff that's going on with this, it's something inside of the seeds that has the ability to extract like parasites out of the body. It attaches itself to it so that when you do have an elimination, it rolls out with it, the parasites that is. So this is one of the best things that you can do. A lot of people, especially old school, are big time into the prunes for moving bowel movements. Nils in comparison to what the dates do. I mean the figs. So you can use Turkish figs, black mission figs, same thing, considered a yellow food, though it's called a black mission fig because again, when you slice it open, you'll see 1,000,000 yellow seeds in it. That constitutes it as a natural laxative characteristic type food. And so you want to do that. The thing you have to be careful about is when you're doing dried fruits, they have been put into a state of dehydration. You want to bring them back to life. So typically you want to soak your dates. Now we're having 4 dates in this huge salad. By the time we put this in here with all this high water content vegetable, and then we put some dressing on it, it's going to get wet enough. And as you chew your salad 25 times before you swallow each spoonful, we're really okay with things like this. But if you're doing like a dessert dish, which figs and bananas and dates make an excellent little yummy thing, you want to soak those. And then I have a container in the refrigerator with dates and figs constantly being soaked because I put that on my cereal in the morning. Okay, so now we're going to make this very easy. So you just only need about 2 stalks of the celery. So you have the celery, and what you're going to do is just slice it so that you come down the center. And we're going to take these 2 sticks of celery, and now we have 4 sticks. We're going to, the key to doing things is stack and chop. So we're going to stack them closely where it just looks like one, and then we're going to just, again, it's the horizontal cutting movement, just chopping right along, moving your fingers out of the way as you chop right through that. A lot of people put their celery, I've had dishes where people have used the food processor, and the food processor turns the celery into wet strings. I mean, that is not what you want to do. It takes, maybe I have 10 more seconds, maybe 30 seconds to take 2 stalks of celery and chop them up to bite-sized pieces so that they have some texture to it and they give a little bit of weight to your salad. So we just sprinkle the dice, now this is what you call diced celery, onto that. And now we're going to go with our carrots. So when we're doing salads, we want to buy the carrots with the tops. This is probably the more important part of the carrot when you start talking about medicinal properties. So carrot tops, when you're very sick, like deathly sick, what you want to do is the vegetable broth where you're basically using the tops of carrots, the tops of beets, and you cut potatoes a quarter of the peeling, so that the eye of the potato, and you boil all of that, and you drink it, and you are adding the mineral content for sodium and potassium into your blood to rejuvenate and restore the body. It's amazing, and we should all do that occasionally. We'll talk about that another day. So in the meantime, this is what we're going to do. I've already rinsed this. Now, you buy organic carrots, there's just not enough price difference in organic carrots and beets for you not to buy them. When you're dealing with thin skin things, plus these come from under the ground, but again, the importance is the tops that we're eating. And so you want that to be as pesticide free as possible. So what we're going to do is this becomes a part of our green salad. So we just lay the carrots over and just come, and again, we're cutting horizontally. And we're going to sprinkle that over the salad. It doesn't really have, it has a little bit of a bitterness to it, but when you mix it in with your base greens, and then you have the other sweet factors that we're adding, it's really the best thing to do. So that's our carrot tops. Now what we want to do is add some carrots. So we take just the tip off if you want to, you don't really have to. Now here's my little favorite gadget here. So you simply hold the carrot, and then you remember I used to kind of do this back in the day with a grater. And so you just kind of zoom, 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 zoom. It really doesn't take long. I mean, it's the simplest thing in the world. And again, if you are going to be in the summertime where we're eating far more salads, I would typically pull out my food processor and chop a large container of shredded carrots, a large container of shredded beets, chop up the celery, and just have those kind of like a salad bar, so that as I'm eating more salads, 2 or 3 salads a day in the summertime, then if I'm pressed for time, I can just kind of pull the containers out of the refrigerator and put that together right quick. But this time of the year, when we're just doing one big salad a day, we take 3 or 4 carrots, and once you get to the thin part, you just break that off, and that's going to give you a chunkier bite of the carrot. But you just, you know, the guy at the Eastern market that sold this to me, I mean, he was able to do this in like 2 seconds, and I could do it too, but then carrots would be flying all over the place. And so you can decide how much you want to put, but let me just offer this suggestion. So orange foods, I don't know if I got to the orange foods. I covered the yellow, green, and red. So orange foods have a considerable amount of what we call beta carotene in it, and that is what transfers to give the body skin care health. So you never have to go to a dermatologist when you're eating orange foods. The thing about the orange foods and the beta carotene is that you don't get as much from them. So you want to always have a variety of food colors every day, preferably everyone in the color scheme. But when it comes to orange foods, you want to do twice as many, because they are more difficult to get the beta carotene from. So the carrots, you want to put more than enough in there. We're going with 3 today. And again, you see how quick that is? And so again, this is going to give you that potassium, which controls the intracellular fluid in the body. Feed that, and you're beginning to feed yourself health. And it keeps your cellular structure strong, so that when you get the virus, if you get the virus, your body has enough defense mechanisms to be able to put that down. God created us to be able to have bodies that would be able to take care of us during periods like this. We didn't know it, but He knew it when He created us and He designed us, and He ordered us to maintain our temple. So these are the things that are really going to be the ones that, without a doubt, you can rely on. There's some other things that may not be scientifically proven. So that's how much carrot. So again, we're just layering for right now. We're going to do the same thing with the beets. So most of you know that the tops of beets are what we call charred. So we simply take those. I've already rinsed them. You kind of just roll them up and do the same thing. You're slicing. This is very quickly. And don't underestimate the value of stems. You know, sometimes we do like a stem salad where I'll put all of the rest of this, the carrot tops in there. I'll put a big portion because it's burgundy. So the stems are burgundy. So when we talk about color food characteristics, we talk about red, yellow, and green. We don't really talk about burgundy, but for the most part, it's considered a kidney food. So your beets, your eggplants, these things are huge for the kidneys. And when I put people on, it's in fact so huge that you have to really be careful with the amount of beet juice that you consume. So you should never have more than 8 ounces of beet juice on any one day. And that would be no more than 2 ounces per 2 hours. So that's how potent beet juice is. That's why you never see beet juice, pure beet juice. You always see it mixed with carrot, beet, celery, carrot, beet this, carrot, beet, apple. But, you know, so we take that, we chop off the tops. Not too much. Again, we're buying organic. Don't be afraid of the dirt. You don't want to rinse your organic foods too much. You start losing some of the nutrients. And so we take off the top and the bottom, and then we sit it up, and we cut it into 4 pieces. That would be the easiest way. These are some small beets. So I had bought an extra one because you want to go overboard with the beets and carrots, to be perfectly honest. And so it's the same thing. You just kind of find a corner and you begin to shred. Again, if this is too much for you, you have the option of using your food processor. You do not want to buy shredded beets and shredded carrots because of what I just talked about earlier. Now, technically, you don't really want to get in the habit of buying your mixed greens in containers. You want to go ahead and buy a head of lettuce, a bulk red chard. You want to buy your spinach, you know, in a spinach that has been cut, so that you can do that yourself. Because again, the mold that can manifest in cut vegetables, packaged lettuce, is undetectable by the eye. And it could be 1 or 2 pieces in there that just kind of got exposed to some heat, and it ruins the rest, and you can't see it and you can't tell. A lot of people that get food poisoning every year, a lot of times it has something to do with the greens and things. So when you are buying the packaged ones, so it's always good to know stuff. You buy the one when you go in the supermarket and they have them stacked in these little tier things. Grab it from the back. So all the way in the back of the refrigerator is the one that you want to get, because that back and forth and people pulling it out into a hotter environment, then putting it back into the refrigerated section is not good. You know, you go in Costco and people kind of pull through all the things, which is good because you want to check the date on things. You know, we often check the date on pasteurized foods, you know, your milk, your eggs and things, but we don't look at the sell dates on vegetables, and that's very important because that's where you can pick up those little bugs that really take you out for a minute. And so I don't like when you buy these little small daggone beets, because I haven't mastered how to get this thing in your fingers. And one time I was doing a video on slicing the mango, and so I was slicing the mango. I was taking the skin off the mango, and I looked down and I saw something red, and it wasn't a beet, it was my blood, because I had sliced my daggone finger. I tried, this was back in the day where it was a little bit more difficult to do videos, so I tried to be all cool. My video guy didn't realize it, and so I was trying to wrap my finger with a napkin or something, a paper towel that was on the table, and then the blood just started gushing out, and I was like, oh man, that's not going to get people excited about doing stuff. It comes a health hazard with it. So you just kind of want to get as much beet in there as you can. I don't feel like opening up the other beet, so I'm just going to kind of work with this for a minute. And it's not that bad. It takes a minute, and not a long minute, but just a minute. And then you can put the bigger chunks in and just eat them like that. And again, you're just adding this. This is so good. This is kidney health. So for people that are diabetic, people that are dealing with high blood sugar levels, you know, and people talk about, because beets have a lot of natural sugar in it, and people talk about that. But, you know, whenever you're doing natural foods, you just have to ignore the sugar content. I mean, the thing is that when you're doing that, you can't go eating a lot of other foods that have added sugar to it, because that's what's going to cause the problem and have too much sugar in the system. I eat a ton of fruits every day. So now we have our beets. Then we move to our sweet peppers. Now, peppers have medicinal properties that are through the roof. and most of it comes from the seeds in the peppers. Now, when you go out and you even buy sliced peppers, a lot of times they remove the seed matter because it looks prettier like that. But that's so stupid, because that's where the healing comes from. The seeds inside of these peppers are amazing, and then the vitamin C content and the other vitamin K that you get from peppers. And then, of course, the history that talks about how peppers are good for the brain. It keeps you from getting dementia. What is dementia? It's inflammation of the brain. So when you start talking about anti-inflammatory foods, you have to look at things like peppers and the foods that can keep that inflammation down. And those are the things that we want to add to our diet. But more importantly, we have orange here, so that's giving us some beta carotene. We have yellow, so that's giving us some natural potassium. We have red to move the blood. And then peppers in general all come from, it has a little capsicum in it, and capsicum, like red pepper and cayenne pepper, traditionally are known for being able to keep the circulatory system healthy, moving that blood along so that you don't run into vascular resistance and elasticity problems. Okay, and so we always want to take, I take 2 red peppers, 2 orange peppers, 2 yellow peppers. You sprinkle them on top. We're going to chop these red ones up right quick. And again, you go down the center on the flat side, you flip it over and go down the center. So you basically are doing 4 slices to the pepper, and then you're coming across again with your horizontal strikes. So my head is getting a little heavy from being up since 4 o'clock this morning and not feeling well yesterday. But I'm going to give you some more energy, so we have that. And so you hear how this this pepper is a little harder to cut, so it's a little more ripe, unripe. The other 2 were ripe. So you want to always be careful when you're eating your food to make sure that it's in a ripe state. Those green bananas and hard avocados and pineapples that look green, you don't want to put that stuff in your system. It causes more problems than the benefits that you're supposed to get from it. So now we have our cherry tomatoes, so now we can start moving quickly. So we have cherry tomatoes. All you want to do is cut them in half. If you have comments, you can put them in the comment box, and when I watch this video again, which will probably be next week sometime, I can stroll through and answer any question you have. I sent some of you emails because we do have the podcast on Buzzsprout, but you can get it on iTunes, Zoom, Google, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Ask Dr. Dallas. We've started recording some. We do the audio, and then a lot of times we do the video version, and you can come back to Ask Dr. Dallas and connect to that. So we're just taking all of our cherry tomatoes. And so when you're at a restaurant or someone's home, do you want to bite into a cherry? No, because when you do that, sitting across from somebody's going to get squirted. You see how all of this is coming out as I'm slicing it? So just make it easy for folks who wants to chow down on a whole big cherry tomato. Just go ahead and slice it in half. Then we're going to do the same thing with our olives. You can put the whole olive in there, but again, when you start to break the seal, the shell, you start extracting more nutrients. It's just like if you put raisins in your salad. You want to take them, rinse them, and then just take a knife and kind of like chop through some of them just to break that seal to release the wonderful nutrients that are in there. And this just doesn't take that long. It gives you a nicer looking celery for those of you who are moving along with us because you had your ingredient list. And for those of you who didn't have the ingredient list, Temple Restoration by Dr. Dallas, this little $15 book is a chock full of information. It's on our website, Life by Dallas. You guys need to get that because it's a section before preceding the recipes that tell you what's supposed to be in your shopping basket. And so how do you select meat if you choose to eat meat and dairy? Why do you have certain beans and peas in there? How do you buy your bananas and you consume them when they have 30% brown spots on them? Now parsley. So we're doing the same thing with the parsley that we did to the beet tops. Parsley, 3 sprigs of parsley. That would be something like this, max. has more vitamin C than an entire orange, more calcium than a plate of spinach, and more vitamin A than 1 ounce of carrots. So that's healthcare reform for $1.49 organic. When you buy your parsley and your fresh herbs, what you want to do is take them out of the package, run the very cold water, put 2 paper towels under the cold water, wet them, and then put your unwashed parsley into the cold, wet paper towel, and then put that into a Ziploc bag and put it into your refrigerator, and your fresh herbs will last 2 weeks. If you do not do that, your fresh herbs will be wilted and basically of no use within 2 days. So now we have cilantro. So we talked about all the benefits in the parsley, which is like, I consider the king of herbs. Now we have cilantro, which gives you that just wonderful flavor when you add it to bean dishes and things like that. But when you start looking at the nutrient value that you find in parsley, cilantro, basil, sage, oregano, these are all right in line. So you just want to do fresh herbs on your salad. It gives it a different flavor. I mean, it just makes it feel like you're in Italy somewhere. You just had some great pasta and now you're doing the great thing. So we're going to use a few dates. The same thing, you want to take the dates, and it's all about horizontal movement. You know, you stack 3 together at one time, and they're going to be kind of glued together. It doesn't matter. We're going to straighten that out when we start mixing the salad. And you do that. You see how this is taking 2 seconds? And why do we want to do dates? Yes, it adds a sweet factor because we do want to feed this to our children. This is not just about us losing 10 pounds. This is about our entire family being healthy. A lot of my friends have young children that high school, junior high school, and they're athletes. You know, you've got to feed them food like this so that they'll be the best athletes. It makes all the difference because at the end of the day, when all the technical skills are equal, it really boils down to who's the fittest and, you know, more energetic. And that's going to come from feeding them sustainable foods. So we do the same thing now. You can see the millions of yellow seeds in the figs. And so we keep slicing the figs. And see, these are really good because they're nice and soft. So when we talked about that soaking thing, you know, sometimes they're hard as a rock. So when you buy them fresh, the dehydrated ones fresh in terms of the dates on the packages, then you have a better deal with getting some really soft stuff. We're almost done, guys, but I just wanted to kind of go through this and tell you sometimes if we're conscious of why we're eating what we're eating and just the great value that it adds to the system, then maybe that will make us, you know, eat it more. I'm going to post this so that people that didn't get the email from me, I just was really, yesterday I was feeling like a Mack truck ran over me. And so, apologize, but we're getting it done. Now we have the avocados, which come to the top part because you don't want to be pressing these a lot. So we take the avocado. Here's an avocado. Remember, when you are ready to eat the avocado, you basically can press your finger into the avocado. Here's some more. Now see, this one is dark, but you can't press your finger in it, which means somebody tossed it around in the store and it's still not really ripe. So you cut off the tip on both ends. Just kind of shave it with your knife. And then you take your knife and just move around in a circular motion because you have the seed in the middle. Because you only eat ripe avocados, it's going to be very easy to peel the skin back. So you pull the skin back, you lay it flat, you knock out the seed. In the other half, take the little greeny stuff off of there because you're paying for it. Again, you pull this out, peel it off, and if you have difficulty peeling the skin off, it means that the avocado is not ripened. It may be soft and mushy because, again, it was abused in the store, but for the most part, you want it to be soft and ripe. Then you take your knife. What do? Horizontal slicing. And we go in the opposite direction. Now we have nice little cubies that we can put there. Now I'm going to show you something else here because we have 2 avocados. Now avocados, why do we want avocados, which happens to be a fruit? Because it has, now, get into a lot of this with people in terms of mixing things. Fruits and vegetables have 2 very distinct digestive periods to them, times I should say. And so when you're consuming them together, one or the other is going to ferment in the stomach. I had this conversation with the little smart aleck, but that's people that don't have an engineering background. And it's really clear if you understand how long it takes for an apple or a pear or a banana to digest. That is why apples are considered to be neutral, apples and lemons and avocados. Those are fruits that you can actually mix with vegetables. I know it. I know. I've been there, heard it a million times. DrOz.com, everybody. All the smoothie.coms, everything. You're throwing pineapples in with greens, and don't do that. And I always just look at people that just know everything. And I look at them and say, is that working for you? Is that working for you? Because if you've been doing these green fruit smoothies for 2 years and your stomach is still there, then that's a problem, because that's undigested matter, and undigested matter comes from food that ferments in the stomach because it hasn't been properly processed. That's a part of the digestion period. That is so important to keep that in mind. So we're adding this, it's a fruit, but more importantly, the fat in avocado feeds the heart. The heart's preferred source of energy comes from fat, and it will take the fat from a candy bar before it takes fat that has been converted from simple carbohydrates that the body didn't utilize for energy in time. So here's the other thing. So now we have the same avocado that's nice and ripe. So for those of you who just kind of want to get through this fast, all you have to do here is just slice the avocado while it's still in the shell, in the skin, and just pluck it out. And you basically still get nice little cubey looks there. So, I mean, when you're trying to hurry up and make your salad because you're hungry when you come home from work, I mean, you might want to just kind of do the quickie thing. And you'll learn some other shortcuts the more that you do this. So basically, that's what I do if I'm putting it into a wrap or something. I may easily do that because that way you get the nice long longitudinal stripes. And then just really scoop it out, because that's always the most nutrient part of anything, is the part of the food that is connected to the skin, which is why you want to buy organic when you can. You want to eat the skin of most foods when possible. And this is wrapping up. And so here's the other thing. So we have your additional superfoods. People talk about superfoods. This is superfood. I was telling someone last night. So these are chickpeas that have sprouted. So if I hold that up, you can see the little tail. In fact, I can hold it up by the tail. So you see I'm not touching the chickpea itself. And so you just sprinkle those onto the top. Now what happens with that? That's what you call a sprouted bean pea. Garbanzo beans, chickpeas. So when it sprouts, it's growing a tail. So literally you're bringing it back to life. And basically what you're doing is you're increasing the nutritional value twofold. So you already have a considerable amount of protein in chickpeas, but once you sprout them, you're taking it to an entirely different level. And so sprouts, that's the key to health. And so I use Sproutman. I've had these a long time, so don't judge. So these are bags, and I'll put them in empty. So these are hemp bags, and they're for sprouting. So basically you take a cup of beans or whatever you want, seeds, and you put them in. And then you fill a bowl with water, and then you just sit them in there to let them soak for 1 day. And then after that 1 day, you basically just run it under, you just rinse it, and then let it hang from somewhere so it just drips in the sink, and then come back and rinse it again in the evening, then rinse it again in the morning. And so depending on which bean you have, chickpeas might take 3 days. Lentils, which are super, super healthy, definitely great for preventing cancer, Alzheimer's. They have so many good things going on. Only take a day to sprout. So you just basically are soaking them 1 day, rinsing them twice, and then you're ready to go. And you can make lentil bread, you can make chickpea bread. I made some hummus with these chickpeas. I added some raw sweet potatoes, so a little bit of tahini and olive oil, and some cinnamon, nutmeg, and it was fabulous. You know, it's a different twist on the traditional garlic hummus that we do. But sweet potatoes are like nutrient dense. You can eat them raw, so don't be afraid to throw them into recipes just by putting them in the blender. Once you peel them and chop them up or slice and dice them, you don't even have to peel them. They blend very well. You've seen me make the raw sweet potato pie. And so you can always shred those and put them on your salad as well. So we're moving along quickly here. Now here are where we're getting to the nitty gritty. So now you want to take your flaxseed, grounded flax seeds, the lignans in flax seeds, move your bowels, keep you from getting dementia, proven over and over again for prostate cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, to really just stop it in its tracks. I do 5 to 6 tablespoons of grounded flax seeds every single day. I usually put at least 3 big tablespoons on my breakfast cereal, and I put like 2 tablespoons on my salad. Then we have our seasoning blend. So the seasoning blend, I take a glass container, I put paprika, cumin, nutritional yeast, cayenne pepper, and that's my blend that I usually use. And then I have a separate container of Italian herbs, just a basic Italian herb mix that has your oregano, thyme, and parsley. And I sprinkle all of those on the parsley, the thyme, you know, this. And it seems like a lot, but, and I also have turmeric. So I keep the turmeric in the jar container with the other things. So this is our salad. And so someone asked me, Cheryl Streeter, so basically, you put a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You don't want to go too heavy with the apple cider vinegar. It's going to be too tart. Then you take some balsamic vinaigrette. There's no sense in making a salad dressing in a container. You don't have to do that. Sometimes I use fermented wheat berry water with lemon, fresh lemon juice, garlic, and I think peppercorns. It makes a wonderful lemon kind of mayonnaise-y like dressing. And then we put some olive oil. So olive oil, again, the best oil for the body, but be careful when you're buying it. So pure virgin olive oil is not the same as extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil has not been heated as much. Typically you want to go to a shop where they can give you some green oil. That's like the higher levels of isolanthium, which is that thing inside of olive oil that makes the heart healthy, that keeps us from getting cancer, that reduces the bad cholesterol in the blood, etc. I mean, the benefits from olive oil, I've had people come to me and say, oh, well, I've heard you shouldn't have olive oil. I mean, people, I don't know, with this whole everything that's going on. And I just look at people and say, okay, y'all want to start doing something different from what your forefathers did that lived longer and had less problems than you with all this other stuff that's going on. I stop having those conversations with people. Typically, I would use a tad bit more olive oil, but it's somewhere. And so then, we're almost done. You want to take it, and now you mix it. So now you just take your thongs so that all the juices and everything can just kind of matriculate down through the salad. And those colors that are looking at you are making me feel better. I was just like, oh, as soon as I finish this video, I'm getting to bed. So now I'm like, maybe the ground is drying. I can go play some tennis. So it's just amazing. You come in the door, you walk in my house, you'll just be like, wow, you know, the smell, the aroma of all of this coming together is healing in itself, you know? And so this is way more than a family of 4 party or whatever. You know, you don't need a lot of nutrient-dense foods to fill a person where the appetite is suppressed because of the nutrient-dense level. Then you don't need a whole lot. So this is going to do like 4 or 5 containers, and I'm going to put that away. And then here's the magic. So the magic is in the pecans and the walnuts. So the walnut looks like the shape of a brain. It also looks the shape of the lungs. The walnut is extremely good for the brain and the lungs. The pecans are very good for you. All nuts with the amount of good fat and protein and the omegas that are in there, you have to eat a good handful of nuts every day. About a 1/3 pound is about a good handful. Because of the fact, again, it's pulled from its shell, it moves into a state of dehydration. You want to put hydration back into the body. So you want to soak your nuts at the beginning of the week, because I'm eating a handful or so on my cereals in the morning. Then you soak them overnight and you're good to go. You put them in a container. Almonds are different. When you soak almonds, they become rancid very quickly. No one's eating this but me. They grow a mold on them, which is why you have to ask yourself, what is almond milk that you're buying from the store? Because when I make my own almond milk, nothing goes rancid quicker than after you blended some almonds with water, you put them in the refrigerator, you've got to consume that within 48 hours. So when you take a box of almond milk that has a date of 6 months, 12-month shelf life on it, what is that? That's something that has been pasteurized. That is something that has been nuked. That is something that has been heated to a point where the real nutrient levels have dissipated. Just be mindful of that. What we do with the nuts is that I have a large container that I keep in a refrigerator, and I sprinkle raw honey, cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. Again, those are equivalent to the capsicum that you find in cayenne pepper or paprika in terms of its ability to move the blood, to thin out the blood. Very, very popular in Chinese medicine in terms of what cinnamon does for heart health and your circulatory system. And so when it's sitting in that honey and the spices for, you know, a few days at a time, that's good enough. I may sprinkle a little water in there, and so that's good enough, because you want to be careful, because dry nuts in their dehydrated state will wreak havoc on the colon. They're so good for you in terms of the mineral and vitamin content and the fat content, but they are murder on the digestive tract if they haven't been soaked. And so we just sprinkle these on top because you don't want to really mix your nuts into your salad. So when you scoop this out, you've got a couple of nuts sitting on the top. The only other thing that we want to add is I usually do my own sprouts. You can buy the alfalfa seeds, the broccoli seeds. This hemp bag has, you can put anything in there, no matter how small it is, and it's not going to seep through. And so it takes like 4 or 5 days to do sprouts. They take a little longer. And so every now and then, just to support our local co-ops, I will buy the micro sprouts. And these are some broccoli ones. And so you just kind of pull them through, you throw those on the top. And this is like Bayer, aspirin, you know, Pepto-Bismol. I mean, this whole salad is just like, you know, takes the place of everything that's in your medicine cabinet, for real, for real. But nutrient per nutrient, if I had to take 2 things out of here, it would be the chickpea sprouts and the alfalfa sprouts, and the close carrot tops, beet tops, then the carrots, the celery, and the beets, and then the arugula, and then all the other stuff. So we have everything in our salad. I'm so happy that we did this. And then the only other thing you can do, if you want, you can take a piece of garlic and just kind of remove the skin quickly. I have one of those things that you can remove it even faster, but since it was already peeled from this morning, you do that. And then you take a mincer, or you want to mince it. You don't want to chop garlic for your salad. You don't want to have people biting down in a big chunk of garlic. So you can mince a couple of cloves onto your garlic. I'm going to do a few more of those. The only other thing is that if you wanted to, you could sprinkle a tad bit of raw honey through it if you just want a little sweetness. But since we put the dates and the figs in, it's going to be sweet enough. I hope that this has been helpful. I apologize again that we didn't get everything to you like we wanted to, but go online and get the book, Temple Restoration, so that you can have this recipe, some other things. If you emailed me, you already have the recipe. Hopefully you worked through that with me or along with me, and you are going to post your picture. And I know it was a late notice and it's a Saturday afternoon, so I can't even see over there to see if anybody is on board. But once we post it again, you have the freedom of looking at it when you want to, and hopefully when you are looking at it, you are using your ingredient list and you will take pictures of what you put together and share it with us. So thank you so much for paying attention. So this was 59 minutes. That's kind of long, but good information, I think. While you're doing your 5-mile walk, you can just put this in your headphone and just listen to it over and over again until it becomes an organic part of how you make your salads. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to figure out how to tune out here and try and save this without any problem. Okay. share. We're going to share somewhere. I'm trying to figure this out right quick. I don't know if it automatically saves it, so I'm gonna have to share it somewhere, maybe to a Google Drive. And so that was fun. So what we'll do next is we will create one for, there it is. So I think that's done. So I can sign off. I can